All right, we're doing the DOT test inspection on the Class A tractor trailer. The first thing we're going to be doing is the in-cab portion of the test. The first items that we're going to inspect are going to be our emergency equipment, and there's 4 pieces. First one is our seat belt. It's securely mounted at the top and bottom. The seat belt's in good condition with no cuts or tears in it, and it latches securely. Next piece of safety equipment will be our fire extinguisher, which is actually mounted next to the driver's seat here. I have to make sure it's securely mounted. I'll look at the dial and make sure it's fully charged and that fire extinguisher is properly rated. Next piece of safety equipment is our emergency triangles, which will be under the seat in this truck. I have to make sure they're present and not damaged, and their container is securely mounted. The last piece of safety equipment is my spare electrical, and that is either going to be in the glove box or in a compartment under the hood. I'd have to make sure I have spare fuses and the truck is equipped with circuit breakers. Got my 4 pieces of safety equipment. The next things I'm going to be inspecting are my lighting indicators. So to do that, I'm going to have to make sure the truck's running, which means I'm going to do a safe start. And to actually safely start a tractor, first I'll kick the key to the on position. I'll make sure that my brakes are applied on the tractor and trailer. I'll make sure I'm in neutral right up here. I'll put my foot on the service brake. Then last thing, I'll check my mirrors, make sure it's all clear outside, nobody's underneath the truck or trailer or anything like that. And it's all safe outside, so I'm going to go ahead and crank the engine over. And now we're going to do our lighting indicators. At this point, we're just making sure that the indicators on the dash are working properly. So that means I'll check my right turn signal, left turn signal, 4-way flashers, and that button's up here on this truck. And I'll check my high beams. There we go. All my indicators are working. The next things we're going to inspect is our windshield and our traffic monitoring devices, whether that's a mirror or some sort of camera system. So for the windshield, it's all securely mounted. There's no damage to it. It's clean, and there's no stickers or anything else obstructing my view. The mirrors on both sides are securely mounted, not damaged. They're properly adjustable. They're properly adjusted, and they are adjustable from the inside. Okay. After that, we're going to check our windshield wipers. I have to make sure the blades, the arms, and the washers are working properly. So I'll turn those on and make sure the arms move freely. They're not damaged. The blades themselves are in good condition. They're not cut or torn. And I'll make sure the washers spray fluid and do a good job cleaning my windshield. Next, we're going to test our horns. So I have a city or electric horn here on the steering wheel. That's working. My air horn up here, that's working properly. And the last thing I'm going to be inspecting is my heat and defrost system. So to do that, I'll turn my fan control all the way up. I'll turn it to the defrost setting. I'll make sure I feel air coming out on the top of the dash, which I do. And then I'll test my heat. So to do that, I'll move the setting to the feet setting, and I'll check, I'll make sure the heat's all the way on too. And I'll check and make sure that I feel hot air coming out, and I do. So my heat and defrost are working properly. Put that back to where it's comfortable. So after inspecting all those parts and pieces, I'm ready to do my brake test. So the first part of the brake test is the parking brake test, and that's where I need to check and make sure that both my trailer and tractor parking brakes hold my vehicle when I tug against them. So first, I'm going to test my trailer parking brakes. To do that, I'm going to release, fix that, I'll release my tractor brake by pushing it in. I'll place my truck in drive, make sure I'm all clear outside, and then I'll do 2 tugs to make sure the parking brakes on the trailer hold the vehicle. There's 1 tug and 2 tugs. So my trailer brakes are working properly. I'll go back to neutral. I'm going to set my tractor brake now because I'm going to test it next, and then I need to now release my trailer brake. So we'll go back and drive. I'm going to attempt to tug against that tractor brake. All clear outside. And this truck in particular is actually not going to let me tug against my brakes, but that's how you would test it on most other models. After I've completed that, I'll go back to neutral, set my trailer brake again, and that's the end of my parking brake test. Next, we're going to do a service brake test, and here at the DMAC training school, we just do a verbal service brake test, and kind of what that sounds like is I would release both of my parking brakes, place the truck in drive forward to about 5 miles per hour, and then I would apply my service brake here to bring the truck to a safe stop and make sure the whole vehicle doesn't pull left or right for any reason. After that, we're now into the air brake check, which has 4 parts to it. It has a leaks test, an alarm or warning light test, the buttons test, which makes sure our spring brakes take over within a certain pressure, and we'll have to do a governor cutout test. So first, for the leaks test, I have to shut my engine off. That way our air compressor isn't compensating for any of the leaks we're going to try and find. And another part of that leaks test is releasing my brakes to pressurize the air system. But before I do that, I'm going to get out and chalk my drive tires. Okay, now that my wheels are chalked, I need to turn my key to the on position because I need my gauges to be able to watch for any leaks. And now that I've chalked my wheels, I can also push my buttons in, releasing my brakes and pressurizing the air system. Last part here, I need to also apply my service brake because that's going to finish applying air to the whole entire brake system. And now that the initial drop in air pressure has happened and everything's stabilized in the air system, I can start a 1-minute timer, and I should not leak more than 4 psi of air pressure. We're starting at 112 psi on the primary system and 107 psi on the secondary. Okay, it's been 1 minute. I have not lost more than 4 psi on either of my air systems. That concludes the leaks part of the test. Now I'm going to test and make sure my warning lights and or alarms come on before my air pressure on the primary system gets to 60 psi. To make that happen, I need to basically trick the truck into thinking there's an air leak, and I do that by pumping my service brake. You can hear the air leaking out. Okay, I have a secondary air pressure low warning. That came on before 60. I'm going to keep pumping and watch for the primary air system warning system to come on. Okay, primary air pressure low, it came on at about 64 or 65. So both of my low air warning lights are working properly. Next, I'm going to continue pumping air out of the brake system to make sure that somewhere between 20 and 45 psi, my spring brakes take over and push these buttons back out and set my emergency brakes. Okay, they popped at about They popped at about 45 PSI and then the pressure went back up slightly. So that's still within the range. Also, the whole time we're doing this brake test, it's not a bad idea to be listening to the entire outside of the vehicle for any other air leaks happening. The last part of the brake test is the governor cutout test. For this, we're just making sure that the air builds up within an appropriate time frame, and we're making sure that before the system overpressures, the governor cutout releases the excess pressure somewhere between 120 and 140 PSI. So to build my air back up, I'm going to start the engine up again. If you are doing this for the DOT test, you want to make sure you mention to your tester the actual pressure on the primary tank that governor cutout, overpressure of air happens. Okay, we now hit 120 PSI on the primary, so now we're listening for when that governor cutout sneeze of air happens. We have about 10 pounds left for that to happen. All right, my governor cutout happened at about 140 PSI. Right at the top of the range, but still okay. Now at this point, your tester is going to take you outside and you're going to do the whole outside of the vehicle's inspection. It's a good time to prompt your tester and say, hey, I'd like to test the external lighting, because at this point we've only tested the indicators. Now we need to make sure everything on the lights outside is working properly. Now I'm going to be doing the external lights check. So I have somebody helping me outside, letting me know that all my lights are working. First I'll test to make sure my low beams and clearance lights come on. Alright, now I'm going to test my left turn signal. Right turn signal. Alright, next we're going to be testing our four-way flashers and our high beams. Okay, now we got to go to the back of the truck and make sure all those lights are working. And in addition to that, the brake lights. Alright, now we're going to get started with the front of the vehicle / engine area. First thing on our list is to do the lenses, and that includes the headlight assemblies and the clearance lights up top. So I'll start with the clearance lights up top. We already know they work, but we'll just mention and check that everything's securely mounted. None of the lenses are cracked or broken. They're in good condition. Down here on our headlight assemblies, our high beam, our low beam, our four-way flashers, turn signals, and clearance lights, all those functions we already checked are working properly, and none of them have broken lenses. Everything's clean and in good condition. Next, we'll check our fluid levels. To do that, we're going to open up the hood. You can do it either from the side or from the front of the hood, but either way you do it, here at DMAC, before you open or close any hood, you want to mention that you'll check and clear on both sides before you open the hood. So I'll go check this side. All right, there's nobody there. Clear. For our engine fluids, there's 4 of them that we have to check. The first one is our engine oil. So we would pull the dipstick out, make sure that the oil is at the proper level. The dipstick itself is all securely mounted and not damaged or leaking. This is where you would fill that engine oil if you needed to. Right next to that is our power steering fluid reservoir. The fluid is at the proper level. The reservoir is securely mounted and not leaking. Our other 2 fluids are on the passenger side. This is where it helps out to have a flashlight. There's my coolant reservoir. I can see it's at the proper level. It's not leaking, and the reservoir itself is securely mounted. Our last fluid here is our windshield washer fluid. Again, the reservoir is securely mounted, not damaged or leaking, and our fluid's at the proper level. So generally, on all of our engine components and anything that has fluid or air in it, nothing is leaking, and I'm also listening for any air leaks throughout the entire inspection. Next, we're going to do our steering system. The steering system is a linkage, a whole assembly of parts. It starts up here at the steering shaft. I'll make sure it's securely mounted, not loose or damaged. Everything's in good condition. Then we'll go to our steering box itself. The steering box is securely mounted, not damaged or leaking, and the hoses going into it are not damaged or leaking. Next, we have the pitman arm. It is securely mounted, not damaged or bent in any way, and it is secured with a castle nut and a cotter pin. Both of those are in good condition and not damaged. Next part in our steering linkage is the drag link. It's securely mounted, in good condition, not damaged or bent in any way other than what the factory put there. We have another castle nut and cotter pin. It's securely mounted, not damaged or missing any parts. And finally, we have the steering knuckle. It's not damaged or bent. It's in good condition. The next group of stuff we're going to do is the steering axle, and that starts with the suspension system that's on that steering axle. We'll start up here on the spring mount for the leaf spring here. It's securely mounted, not missing any hardware and not damaged. That spring mount is holding our leaf spring, which again is not shifted, not damaged or broken anywhere. I see I have 2 U-bolts here. They're not showing any signs of being loose. They're not shifted or damaged. Next, I have a shock absorber. It's securely mounted at the top and bottom, not damaged and not leaking. At the back of the leaf spring, I have another spring mount. It's not damaged, not missing any parts, in good condition. It's securely mounted. This truck is not equipped with it, but there can be airbags in this area sometimes. So if that was there, I would inspect that too. Next, we're going to go into the brakes. That starts up here at the brake hoses and line. All of that is securely mounted, not damaged and not leaking. That goes into our brake chamber, securely mounted, not damaged, not leaking. After the brake chamber, we have the slack adjuster here, this whole assembly of parts, and our push rod. Neither one of those can be bent or damaged. They're both securely mounted, and if my brakes were released, I would check these and make sure there is not more than 1 inch of play. After my slack adjuster and push rod, I look inside the wheel. I'm checking my linings here and down here. They're both securely mounted, not damaged. They have at least 1/4 of an inch of life, and there's no contaminants on them. After that, we're looking at the brake drum, making sure it's not cracked or damaged, no contaminants on it, no signs of overheating. Okay, the last part of the steering axle that we're going to look at is our wheel. It starts here on the top of the tire, making sure it's evenly worn. There's no cuts or bulges, no chunks missing out of it. And I have to make sure that it has the appropriate amount of tread. It has to have at least 4/32 of an inch of tread depth. This one has much more than that, so it's in good shape there. Both of my sidewalls show no signs of cracking, no abrasions, also no bulges on the sidewalls, inside or outside. Then we'll go into our rims. The rim is not cracked. I see no welds on it. It's in good condition, no corrosion or anything. Next, I'll check all my lug nuts, make sure they're securely fastened. None of them are missing. They're not showing any signs of being loose, such as shiny spots on the rim or on the threads. After that, I'll check my hub oil seal. It's not missing any hardware, it's not cracked or damaged, and it's not leaking. If I wanted to check the hub oil, I could do so through the sight glass here. There you can see the oil level there in the bottom. Or if this sight glass was foggy, I could pull this seal out and look down in there. I also need to check my valve stem, make sure it's not damaged or leaking. It has the cap present, and I would use a tire pressure gauge at this point on this valve stem to check and make sure the inflation of the tire is within the specification on the sidewall. Alright, now we're going to work on the side of vehicle section of the pre-trip. First box being lenses and reflectors. So that starts up here on the side of the hood with this light here. This is a turn signal, a 4-way flasher, and a clearance light. So we'll make sure that's securely mounted, not cracked or broken or damaged in any way. There's a couple more lights and reflectors on the back of the cab. We have white reflective tape on the top corners that has to be present and clear, not damaged or dirty or anything. We have utility lights on the back. They're securely mounted, properly functioning, and not damaged. That takes care of our lenses and reflectors for the side. Traffic monitoring devices. On these trucks in particular that we have here, that just means our mirrors. Some more modern trucks may have camera systems instead of mirrors. But either way, you have to make sure they're properly functioning, properly adjusted, and not damaged, securely mounted. The battery on these Kenworths, it's actually in our steps here, so we'll open this little access hatch. Make sure the batteries themselves are securely mounted, not damaged, and not leaking. Fuel tanks / diff tanks. So fuel tanks on both sides. Make sure the tanks themselves are securely mounted. They're not damaged or leaking. The fuel caps are tight. We can open this up. Make sure the seal on the bottom side of the cap is present, not damaged. Put that back on. Make sure it's tight and not leaking. The tank straps on both tanks, on both sides, are securely mounted, not damaged. The rubber underneath them is in good condition, not cut or squeezing out or anything. The DEF tank here is securely mounted, not damaged or leaking. Same thing with the cap. The seal on the bottom side is in good condition. The cap is tight and not leaking. Last thing here for the side of the vehicle, the frame. It is not twisted. There's no cracks in it. I see no welds. It's not missing any hardware. Both frame rails are straight, and the cross members in between them, you can see them underneath our catwalk steps here. There's a cross member in there. There's another one up here. Make sure those cross members aren't twisted or shifted in any way, not missing any hardware. And that's it for the side of our vehicle. Next we'll go into the combination vehicle only portion of it. Okay, the first thing on the combination vehicles only, we're going to check the air and electric lines and connectors. We'll start up here where the air lines go into the tractor. We'll make sure all those fittings are tight, not damaged or leaking. And the electrical plug is firmly seated and latched in place. Here's my latch. I'll check the air lines all the way through, make sure there's no cuts, no rubbing or abrasion, no chafing. There's no leaks in these air lines. Back to where they connect to the trailer and the glad hand connections. I'll check each glad hand to make sure the seals on both sides are in good condition, not pinched or leaking in any way. I'll do that on the blue air line also. There we go, cap is closed. And my electrical plug is not damaged, firmly seated and latched in place. Okay, now we're going to do the fifth wheel skid plate. That's under here, this piece. The fifth wheel skid plate is not damaged or broken in any way. It's properly lubricated. The apron is also in good condition, not damaged, no cracks. It's properly lubricated. And then very important, there's no gap between the apron and the fifth wheel skid plate. During your test, you're not going to be allowed to go underneath the trailer. So I'm going to do my best to look from back here and see that my locking jaws are all the way around the kingpin. The kingpin itself is in good condition, not damaged, properly lubricated. My release arm is not bent or damaged. It's in good condition and it's in the locked position. Last thing we'll check here after the kingpin and locking jaws, we'll look from the side here and see that we have a proper amount of turning clearance between the landing gear and the back of the tractor. If we had that fifth wheel improperly positioned, where the landing gear was too close to the back of the tractor, they may collide when making turns.
Forward.
All right, moving on to the trailer, just a couple things we gotta check. We'll take a look at our reflective tape, make sure none of it is missing, it's all clean and visible, and it covers at least 50% of the side of the trailer. Here at my landing gear, I'll make sure the landing gear is fully raised when the trailer's connected. I'll make sure my crank handle is stowed properly, and the landing gear support frame, none of it is damaged or missing, it's all in good condition. Here at the back of the trailer, I'm going to start up at the top and check my clearance lights. Make sure all of them are clean, not damaged, appear to be functioning properly. Any reflective tape up there has to be clean and working correctly. Down here at the bottom, we have more reflective tape that covers 100% of the distance across the back of the trailer. We have 4 red lights. These have 4 functions that we need to check. We have a turn signal, a 4-way flasher, and a tail light. Over here, this one will also be a tail light and a brake light. We have to make sure all those functions are working and the lenses themselves are not cracked or damaged. They're in good condition. I have a license plate light here. Make sure that is securely mounted and functioning properly. It does a good job lighting my license plate. And finally, on the bumper, we have more reflective tape that is clean, covers 100% of the bumper, and is in good condition.